Taiwan accused the Chinese military of simulating an attack on its main island on Saturday, as Beijing continued with its retaliation for U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taipei. Viewers may note that the current exercise is some of its largest ever military drills around Taiwan, seemingly aimed at creating a blockade and ultimately invasion of the island. While it looks like a David versus Goliath, with China's annual military spending being about 20 times that of Taiwan's, there's more to it than meets the eye in the first instance. In this video, Defense Updates analyzes why China can't gobble up Taiwan easily. Let's get into the details. This video is sponsored by the free-to-play military vehicle combat game War Thunder. We talk a lot about military vehicles on this channel, but what about trying them out for yourself? In War Thunder, you can choose from more than 1,200 playable vehicles from the 1930s to the 1990s and go to battle on more than 80 theaters of war. You can fly aircraft, helicopters, drive tanks, and command ships of all types and sizes, which have been carefully recreated from their real-world counterparts. It's available as a free download on PC, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One with cross-platform support. So grab your friends and give it a try. All viewers of Defense Updates that register using the link in the description below will also get a free premium tank, aircraft, or ship and 3 days of premium account time as a bonus. China is separated from Taiwan through the Taiwan Strait, which is about 100 miles or 160 kilometers wide. China will have to move its forces across the strait in case it decides to invade. Such an amphibious operation will be one of the most complicated ones. Chinese warships and amphibious landing crafts will be very vulnerable during this journey. It's to be noted that China's amphibious assault capability is still lacking enough capacity for an operation of such scale. Taiwan is also doubling down on that situation. It's building mine layers and has already commissioned 2. These ships will sow a large number of small but very potent mines in waters around Taiwan. Importantly, the ship will lay down these mines at a fast pace without even the need for divers. Rigging these waters with mines will make things exceptionally risky for the Chinese military. PLA's last experience in battle was in 1979, when it suffered a loss to Vietnam. PLA soldiers have been wielding guns in front of civilian populations. This is very different from real battles when they face battle-hardened soldiers pointing guns at them. This is also true for the commander, who will have to make crucial tactical decisions in the fog of war. Viewers may note that actual combat experience can't be replaced by paper theories. On top of this, it's to be noted that PLA commanders spend almost 40% of their time in political training. Xi Jinping, like any dictator, has a constant fear of a coup. There are clear indications that there is discontent in the hearts of more than 55 million veterans of the PLA who have been treated poorly, and hence Xi has purged many experienced PLA personnel. He has also enforced a system where there is a constant churn within the PLA. For example, a tank commander may be shifted to the infantry division for a while. This tactic hinders the development of expertise and will be very counterproductive in case a serious conflict ensues. China has by far the world's largest military. There are currently 2 million active soldiers in the Chinese force, whereas there are 170,000 active soldiers in Taiwan. China has more than 500,000 reserve personnel, but Taiwan has an upper hand in this with 1.5 million reserves. We need to remember here that for an attacking force, the ratio must be at least 3-to-1 in its favor. China has a massive advantage in military hardware, but Taiwan also has many weapons that, if employed with proper asymmetrical tactics, will make life very difficult for the Chinese military. For example, the Xingfang-3 supersonic anti-ship cruise missile could be used to cripple much costlier assets like a warship. Taiwan also has the Yunfeng land attack cruise missile that can fly as far as 1,200 miles, or about 1,930 kilometers, and threaten many important infrastructures like air bases and ports from which China could initiate an offensive to invade Taiwan. Apart from these, Taiwan is in the process of acquiring several American platforms. To know more about those, check the video in the above card. It's important to note that for years the Taiwanese military has been practicing defensive warfare with a focus on China. The constant Chinese provocations mean that Taiwan is always in a state of readiness. Also, China will have to assemble a very large invasion force, which will be detected by Taiwanese or Japanese or American assets. Viewers may note that Beijing-based think tank, the South China Sea Strategic Situation Probing Initiative, SCSPI, tweeted that one U.S. Air Force, USAF, Boeing RC-135S Cobra Ball measurement and signature intelligent aircraft, one USAF RC-135V Rivet Joint Electronic Surveillance Aircraft, 3 U.S. Navy P-8A Poseidon Patrol and Reconnaissance Aircraft, 1 USAF Boeing E-3G Sentry Airborne Early Warning and Control Craft, and 1 Lockheed U-2S High-Altitude Reconnaissance Aircraft were in flight near Taiwan. American satellites are also keeping a watch, and information will be passed to Taiwan. These factors mean it's not possible for China to launch a surprise attack. When the surprise element is taken out, the balance tilts significantly to the defensive side. Almost 30% of soldiers in the People's Liberation Army, PLA, comprise conscripted manpower, who are forced to serve in the military for 2 years and then retire. People who are proved to have avoided the draft are liable for punishment, and Beijing authorities criticize those youths who do not want to join the army. This scheme ensures excellent headcount. PLA is the largest in the world, but has major loopholes. Most youths are not motivated and don't associate joining PLA with pride. They hardly have rigorous military training, and in combat they get exposed. Chinese leader Deng Xiaoping introduced the one-child policy in 1979 to curb China's rapidly growing population. PLA soldiers are products of one-child families and are often referred to as little emperors and mama's boys. According to a professor at the People's Liberation Army National Defense University, as much as 70% of the Chinese military is made up of men and women who are the only children in their families. The Study Times, an ideology-focused government publication, has warned, soldiers from the one-child generations are wimps and have absolutely no fighting spirit. History will tell us that one of the important factors behind the success of the D-Day landings in World War II was the immense valor of the Allied forces who braved great odds. PLA may be found wanting in tough situations. Japan Deputy Prime Minister Taro Aso had said some time back, if a major problem took place in Taiwan, it would not be too much to say that it could relate to a survival-threatening situation for Japan. We need to think hard that Okinawa could be the next. In a speech to the military, Kishida said, "We will study all options necessary to bolster our defensive capabilities, including the ability to execute a preemptive strike against enemy bases." With this statement on record by the Prime Minister, Tokyo seems to have let go of all previous self-imposed inhibitions. The relationship between Taiwan and the United States is unofficial and informal and is governed by the Taiwan Relations Act. The Taiwan Relations Act is designed to maintain ambiguity and doesn't state if the USA will or will not intervene militarily if China attacks or invades Taiwan. Over the last few years, it's increasingly clear that China is seen as a major rival by the US. There's a lot at stake when it comes to Taiwan. For example, TSMC, or Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, is the world's biggest chip manufacturer and a vital supplier to the United States and other Western nations. Given the circumstances, even if the US doesn't want to, it may be forced to intervene. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more videos like this. Hit the like button if you find the video interesting, and kindly provide your feedback in the comment section. This will help us improve.